Welcome to the show. Sorry. Yeah. Cashman didn't realize that the XLR has actually going to the board to be able to hear you guys. So I thought, so welcome to the show. Sorry it took so long for me to figure that out. I will edit this out of the video. DC's joining us. Let me go through the plugs real quick as we get into it because we got a big show today. Welcome to the Pain Clinic. For the date is unfortunately or fortunately July 26th. Holidays today. It's All or Nothing Day, Aunt and Uncle Day, National Day of the Cowboy, and World Tofu Day. Birthdays today. We have a couple. Roderick Strong is 42 today. That's Roddy. And Tessa Blanchard is 30. And by the way, I didn't plug my XLR into my board, so it's like I'm a dummy. I kicked my plug right before the show started, and it kind of bent a little bit. I thought maybe that's what it was, but no. We settled the problems here. So interested in roller derby, you want to be a skater, officiate Rock City Roller Derby needs you. Contact recruitment at rockderbyrecruitment@gmail.com and join Rock City Roller Derby. They have a game today, in fact, at the Dome. Manette Hall. Doors open at 3. First game's at 4. It's Pride game. We're gonna have all sorts of fun things, drag queens and all sorts of stuff. So it'd be a blast today if you want to come down to the Dome and watch some hard hitting roller derby. Rock City versus Twin Cities. That's today. You also can join the men's team, Flower City Fear, FLOUR, flowercityfear.com, and they're always looking for volunteers as well as new members. I'm Cashman, your humble host. I'm joined by DC Dan Cole. DC, how you doing today?
Trying to stay in the air conditioning, but other than that, not so bad.
Oh yeah, it's going to be like that here today too, man. It's just been the last couple of days, but sorry, I got it started off on the rough edge there. I was a little preoccupied and did not plug in one plug, so we are good now. But we got a lot of things to talk today. Obviously, Hulk Hogan dying this past week, SmackDown honoring him last night, Jelly Roll, Travis Scott, and Slammiversary, and hopefully Rob Sanderson makes it in. He watched Slammiversary. Does not give it a passing grade, I will say, but we will see. We will see if he makes it in time. He's got a show today. ESW is out at Riverworks today. If it's going to be hot here, it's going to be hot there. So I can imagine they're outdoors, so maybe they'll get a breeze. But let's jump right into it. The news, and I have plenty of stories, but it's like unfortunately this past Thursday, Hulk Hogan, aka Terry Bollea, died Thursday morning in Clearwater, Florida. Reports the paramedics were called to his home with the report of Hogan going into cardiac arrest. He was taken to a nearby hospital where he was pronounced dead. It's whether you like the man or hate him, you can't deny what he meant to the business to get it to where it is now. But I think last week or the week before, we were talking about Bubba the Love Sponge, who apparently knows what he's talking about. He said that Hulk Hogan was not doing very well. He had neck fusion surgery in the end of May. And I mean, he was just here in Rochester in March. And, either he, was great at not showing how much pain he was in, but man, he stayed there and signed all the autographs and did everything. But, it's kind of tough to call him the immortal Hulk Hogan now because that's kind of not true.
Been debunked.
Yeah, sorry about that. But what do you guys in the chat room think? I mean, I listen, you know how I feel. I've always talked about how I feel. I'm not going to talk about that today because unfortunately that's, this is, it's probably not tasteful to air your grievances after someone passes away. But I will say that when I was a wrestling fan, a little guy, and Bob Backlund was champ, and then they took the belt off Bob and they put it on the Iron Sheik, and then the Iron Sheik a month later transitioned it to Hulk Hogan. I will say one good thing came out of that, besides the fact that I was not a Hogan fan. It pushed me to become a WCW fan and Ric Flair and NWA and stuff like that. And so that's probably why, if you ever notice my tendencies over the years, I'm a big Ric Flair fan. And that's because Hulk Hogan had like the systematic wrestling match. It was, everything would happen to a point, and then the no sell would happen, and then the leg drop, and then the 1, 2, 3. And I mean, but and as much as, and like I said, I was not a Hulkamaniac. I was too old to be a Hulkamaniac when that was going on. It was great for kids. It was great, brought a lot of kids into the world of wrestling, inspired so many current wrestlers, to do it, to take their vitamins and say their prayers and all that stuff, And he without a doubt, he's the number one on the Mount Rushmore of pro wrestling. Now his personal life is something completely different. And unfortunately the last few years, he definitely, he wasn't really nearly as tied to wrestling in the last few years. And, it kind of, he had a love-hate relationship with the world, it's like, but in hindsight, he is, the guy who Vince McMahon, when he decided to get crazy and make this WWF and, recruit people from all over, the world, wrestlers from all over places, and steal them from different territories and everything. He was the guy who decided Hulk Hogan was going to be his figurehead for the company. And there was a lot of money made, and it was, and Hulk Hogan was the right person too, because not everybody can handle that kind of pressure, it's a lot different now with social media, I think, than it was back then. Back then, it was just fans waiting outside behind places. Now, people are very vicious on social media, keyboard warriors and things like that. But and he's not wasn't a perfect person, and we've learned that in the last, part of his life, the last third of his life. But he was very instrumental in making a lot of careers. He was very instrumental in making a lot of money for promoters, and also protecting himself, like he was always, I heard some audio from like the last time someone had caught him, and wanted, and it was just like a fan or something, and they were recording audio with him, and he was still promoting, and it was like maybe a month ago, he was still or 2 months ago, being the Hulk Hogan promoting, it was, he let the pains of life, he didn't show them when he was out in public and things like that. Obviously when it was behind cameras and hidden doors, he made mistakes, but you can't deny. And there's one thing that really stands out in my mind, and I've told this story before, many times, but he went to WCW, and when Vince Russo was in charge of WCW, Hulk Hogan kind of got knocked down a few pegs down the he was not the main eventer. He wasn't the guy who was on at the end of the day or the last few matches. When they came to Rochester, and that was the infamous day that DDP won the WCW title here in Rochester, Hulk Hogan wrestled Billy Kidman on the card, and the entire crowd, it was the loudest part of the night. I had heard the loudest part of when he was out there. And it was like, more loud than a title change, it was like he had, so there are a lot of fans, and I know there's a lot of fans that listen to the show that love Hulk Hogan. It's tough because, it's like you grow up loving him and everything. And can you excuse him for things that happened? A lot of people have, not everybody has, obviously. And he is, he'll go down as having a mixed reaction at the end of his life, but for the world of pro wrestling, if you can just put aside any of his political beliefs or any of the things that happened, or put him on TMZ, or what was it? Gawker or whatever, any of those things that went on, everyone says he's always was there for his friends. I believe that, there's, he was very supportive of people. He made a lot of people money. People said whenever he was on a card, they would raise the payout for everybody else because of him being there, because they'd have bigger crowds and things like that. So, it is a sad loss. And I'm guessing we're probably, with SummerSlam being like next weekend, they'll probably have more tributes to him, but they did do a tribute last night on SmackDown. I liked it because, it was careful in the wording in which they used. And it was, and even when Cody came out and cut a promo, I thought that was, very classy. And he's like, all things aside, this and that and this. And, obviously Cody, with the deep roots in this business, got to see it from the outside and the inside. It was going on. But DC, you have any thoughts on the passing of the great Hulk Hogan?
I mean, I have a few. Much like you, I was not a Hulkamaniac. The difference is, I think I should have been. I was like right in the sweet spot of,
Yeah.
as a kid, where it would have been appropriate, but I was never a Hulk Hogan guy. Yeah, the unfortunate thing is like you said, the last third of his life is just there's so many terrible things that he either did or that came out about him. And the tough part is you have to separate. Yes, he did some wonderful things for wrestling. Wrestling would not be where it is without him. But you can still acknowledge that he turned out to be kind of a crappy human being. And I
Yeah.
know, we're all someone else to someone else, so I don't doubt that he was, great to those close to him and in his circles, but at the same time, his daughter wanted nothing to do with him. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. We had heard that he had had neck fusion surgery in May. And so some of the things about, like Bubba was saying that he was on his deathbed a couple weeks ago, we all kind of like, nah, because we know Jimmy Hart is so tight with him that Jimmy Hart would have been on that too, and letting us people know. And Jimmy Hart, 2 days before he passed, said he was doing great, but he died of a heart attack or like, it was like, so, and those things happen to people who you think are in the best health, it's just, a strike out of the blue that it happens to. I mean, he did. Maybe we'll hear more about, what led up to it and what kind of health problems he was having. We knew
I
he had.
feel like with that generation of wrestlers, it's almost like just a waiting game because you feel like that's what's going to happen to them.
Yeah,
Because of the time they wrestled, the wear and tear they put on their bodies, the things they shouldn't have been putting in their bodies that they were putting in their bodies, it catches up
it
with them.
freely admitted it too. And that's, that takes, when your muscles are bigger than legitimately your body can maintain, you pull tendons and everything gets changed up inside your body, and your heart he probably had an enlarged heart from everything. But there's a lot, and there's a lot of, you're right, there's probably a lot of people worrying right now, because he was 71. I mean, 71's young. I it's
I
it's
feel like for a wrestler though, that's a pretty, especially one that probably went as hard and heavy as any of them. I feel like that's a good mark actually.
Yeah, Mad Dog. Hey, Mad Dog. I'll send you an invite. You want to come in with us, bro? I see him in there. Just because I mean, he was there when we started doing this show, and I know that he was definitely. We've had our discussions about Hogan before, so I mean, I'm gonna send him an invite and see if he pops in. But yeah, we definitely would like, I'm definitely gonna read anything that you guys have. Uh, to say about Hulk Hogan. I've seen a lot of very nice things so far. People, meeting him and him being just a great guy. So and listen, I believe that, yeah, and that's Mad Dog's mentioning. He thinks it's hilarious that Flair outlived Hogan.
That is bizarre.
And Flair, I mean, gosh, he's going through some stuff too. If you've seen the picture of him, it looks like they took out just massive chunks of skin out of his forehead and stuff because he had looked like staples across his forehead. But yeah, Flair, there's a few people. It's like a lot of people. I mean, we've had some passings this past weekend that I think were pretty amazing, pretty bummed. Ozzy Osbourne. I'm really bummed. I was bummed about that because he just did that big concert, and Ozzy, I mean, did Ozzy just hold out so he could do that concert and then that was it, I mean, he just ran out of gas. And Rochester's own Chuck Mangione, feels so good. If you're a King of the Hill fan, Chuck Mangione a little bit, I guess, I think he works at the Megalomart. But yeah, that and Malcolm Jamal Warner passed. There was a lot of people that passed away this week, but I think, Chuck, I think that Hulk Hogan, it's funny how you gotta go back and watch that tribute that Triple H voiced on SmackDown last night because he's very careful, like I said, in the wording he uses. But man, Hulk Hogan, inspired so many of these people who are in the ring now, and even if they don't like him anymore because of some of the things that have come out since, but when they were a kid, they go like, I want to be a pro wrestler. This is what I want to do. And there's so many, and there's probably still generations to come out still that are huge fans But man, it is just a sad time because, it just makes me think. I remember when like we were talking about the Bubba the Love Sponge stuff, and it was like I just could, I never was a fan of that guy either. And it's like, but he obviously had the inside on it. But yeah, he was Hogan. They said that I just have been reading more details on it, and they said that he had like a makeshift hospital bedroom in his house because of this neck surgery that he had, the fusion, and it didn't go as well, and he couldn't talk because he had breathing tubes and everything. But they were hoping he was getting better, that, and unfortunately Thursday morning, his wife called the EMTs. They came down and were doing CPR on him, and he was declared dead in the hospital. So it's just, it's gonna. He hasn't really been that relevant in the sport of wrestling. I mean, he was working on that new company that I wonder how that's going to go now. The Real Wrestling or whatever, Real Wrestling,
Real American Wrestling.
Yeah, Miro RAF. I think of Royal Air Force whenever I see that, but it. Oh, and Pat says none of us are perfect. It's true. It's true. But, I don't want to get into those because we've talked about that stuff ad nauseum before about and when he got caught, instead of apologizing to folks, he just said, be careful. You never know when you're going to be on video. So that was,
Because that's the takeaway.
yeah. So, but, I mean, this guy had his own TV show. He was on Top of the World when that Hogan Knows Best show was on. I'll admit it. I mean, I have a family that didn't really watch wrestling, but liked reality TV shows. And so they watched it. They watched, me, I always watched it just for what wrestlers were going to pop into his house, because he was, he was friends with all those guys down in Florida. But I mean, he kept, it's like, was that after the Ozzy show too? The Osbournes?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the Hogan show came after
Yeah.
Ozzy's.
So it may have been inspired by Ozzy's thing. Obviously Ozzy, but I'll admit it was sad. And it's like, it's sad to see the guy go, and it's sad to see that, there's probably a lot of things he really, like his split with his daughter, he never really resolved that. I mean, she said she loved him the last time she talked to him, but it might have been after a long conversation with, to the point where it's like, okay, that's the way you think, but I love you still, or something like that. That's what I think, because it's like, because she wasn't there she didn't talk to him in 2 years or something, equivalently. So, and that he, and Mad Dog does mention, he held people back. He had the creative card when he was in WCW, the creative control over his finishes of his matches. But he was big enough that he was big enough a star and big enough an influence in the business that I mean, even Vince came out and made a statement, and they had a love-hate relationship, I mean,
Well, because they're a pair. There is no one of them without the other.
yeah, like I said, he was the guy picked to be the figurehead of this new company that was going to take over the world, and it did. It made a lot of people a lot of money, it was and it made Hogan a lot of money too. And his divorces unfortunately took a lot of his money, but I feel bad for his kids, because I mean, you got to know his kids on the TV show, I mean, and I'm sure more will be coming out from a lot of different people about a lot of different things about him, because it's still so fresh. Pat is telling Mad Dog he thinks he needs church. It's like, because he hopes McMahon's next. Well, in due time, McMahon is an old man, but it is but it's like, it's hard for, even if you hate the guy, and if you love pro wrestling, you have to give him his due. I mean, he was very instrumental in making it a national thing instead of just a territorial thing. And then, and he became a huge star. He was in movies, listen, Mr. Nanny
They
wasn't
weren't very good, but he was in movies.
Mr. Nanny wasn't an Oscar winner, but it was funny. It had moments, you know. I mean, you know, I'll admit I like his movies better than his wrestling, you know.
I think my favorite was Suburban Commando.
Yeah, because The Undertaker was in it with him. Yeah, that was a good one too. I mean, he plays. I think that Hogan, you know, I never watched the Trouble in Paradise or whatever the show was, Hogan in Paradise, the Ted Turner TNT show that brought Hogan down to WCW. But you know, I mean, he did go across the you know, he did go across to other types of media, movies, television, you know. So
Thunder in Paradise.
that's what it was, Thunder in Paradise. He was Thunder, I believe. So you know, I actually kind of got out of wrestling a little bit during that period, just because that, and then my son kind of got me back into it. So it's like, well, Hogan's in WCW. Where's Ric Flair? You know, it's like, because Ric Flair was, you know, like I said, Hogan, the way that wrestling turned with him, you know, being the main figurehead, I wasn't a fan, so that's why I went looking for other, you know, other things. And obviously Ric Flair and WCW. I mean, they were always the underdog, always behind, but it's amazing how like Flair came out and just said, you know, how they were really good friends way from the beginning. And there's a lot of stories to be told, and we'll hear a lot of them coming up soon. But it is just a sad state that you know, especially because you know it's obvious that his time in the ring is what caused these problems that had to have the surgery for. And I mean, TNA actually had a wonderful tribute to him on the beginning of their Dynamite show the day he passed away. So it was, uh, you know, I mean, every company he's worked for has come out. New Japan put out a promo. I guess Madison Square Gardens had a giant video board on the side of him, thanking him for all the sellouts at MSG. So it is, you know, it is a unexpected, and like I said, 71. The closer I get to 71, the more I feel like, man, I hope that's not, I mean, I'm not also taking bumps, so, you know, but it's just one, you know, it's just one of those, you know, we get past it. And, I mean, it's going to, like, it'll cause, reverberations in the business for a while. Like I said, something's going to happen at Slammiversary next weekend that'll be special due to this. You know, maybe his family will come back together, you know, because they were kind of like they were splintered there at the end, you know. And I think that you know, yeah, and you know, if he is, you know, God fearing, like I mean, he seemed like he was born again at some point in the last like 10 years. If that be the case, then he's in a better place. So, you know, not in pain anymore, I mean, but I'm sure he's cutting promos up in heaven or wherever he is, he's, but you know, I think that's all I want to talk about him, because there's more things to go on the target today. But you know, that he is definitely, you know, I did want to, yeah, I mentioned the SmackDown honoring last night, and I thought that was, they had like a bunch of superstars from his era, like Jim Hacksaw Duggan, you know, as well as Jimmy Hart was there. I guess Eric Bischoff couldn't make it, but he was invited. He's got so many ties to so many people, you know, and it's like, it was interesting because I know that some of those guys were still mad at him about the whole, you know, when he was using racist language on the video, and I did not see any of those guys anywhere where I could see him on the stage, because even if you look, I've seen old shots of him with Booker T giving him the stink eye in the background, you know, and stuff like that. But it is a sad day. Yeah, I think AEW will do something this week. I mean, their show is Wednesday, and they're doing a live show tonight, so maybe they'll honor him tonight. Find a copyright-free picture to be able to use, so they don't get sued by WWE or anything. But you know, I think that they haven't made any statement yet. But he's never worked with them, you know. You know, all the companies he has worked with have said something. So you know, maybe you will get a WWE some sort of honorary title or something, you know, with his name on it, because he deserves at least that. So, you know, that being that, let's go on and talk about some other news, and you guys can still have memories if you want to do them. I mean, you know, like I said, there's people out there that you love him or you hate him. And there's some, obviously I don't want to be one of the people there, when he passed away that we just had terrible things about him because, things there's facts and there's facts also that he was also, one of the earliest, biggest, best reasons wrestling is still going to this day. And a lot of people will give him credit for that. And so will we. So then now we'll talk about some other things in the world of wrestling. Last night on SmackDown, Jelly Roll had a confrontation with Logan Paul, because Logan comes out after they do the Hogan thing and he goes, "I heard you chanting Logan, Logan," and it's like he did not endear himself to that Cleveland crowd. Logan Paul, and then so Logan Paul brings, he has Jelly Roll come out in his show and proceeds to say he can't read and all the funny things about Kentucky people, or whatever. And but Jelly Roll, man, he hit him with a freaking shoulder block. He hit, he did a few things. He got punched in the head. So I think this guy's ready for the world of pro wrestling, unlike Travis Scott, apparently. I give him a lot of credit. He got up quick too. So, all this good work he's doing is helping him get and, probably make him live longer as well. I don't think I saw him on the stage when they had all the wrestlers out in the beginning. It was hard for me to see who was out there, but besides everybody, there was just tons of people. But did you have any? The funny thing I thought about it was that Jelly Roll came out talking like a tough guy, and it's like, really, with that voice, "I'm gonna beat you. I'm gonna send you." It's like he's got like this real soft Southern voice, and it's like, DC, what do you think about Jelly Roll debuting? Obviously it's better than Travis Scott. Apparently Travis Scott pissed people off that now it's okay to badmouth him on TV shows or interviews because Drew McIntyre said all terrible things about him this past week. But Jelly Roll's okay.
He seems like an okay person. It's just I do not buy into these celebrity things they do. I know it's for a specific part of the audience, and I know it's not me. As long as he doesn't embarrass himself, make a mockery of things, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, he took a kick to the gut and bent over, and then and he was, I was waiting for Drew McIntyre to whoop on him, but he stopped and let Logan Paul jump in and whoop on him. So he was hitting him over and over, and he was selling it. He was doing the head bob on the ground and everything, and it was, but I think, I guess we'll find out next week if he can, if he can do it without embarrassing himself. I think because he was talking of, I think Logan Paul was kind of saying that, if I get in trouble, I turn around and I got Drew McIntyre to tag. Who does Randy Orton got? And he's like, you. He's like, who are you? But when the whole Jelly Roll thing, he was like, you're like the jocks in high school who didn't like me. You're like, he's obviously getting the people on his side by like doing all these comparisons. He's like, and using that to get people behind him. He didn't really need much. He's a pretty big star right now, I think. Makes me when I see him actually out there, it makes me wonder what happened to Pat McAfee, because it's like, I remember Pat McAfee had him a bunch of times on his radio show, but man, I don't know where Pat McAfee's been lately. I don't think he's coming back. It's been now like a month or two since the last time he was on. But his boy was, Jelly Roll. So I thought that, but yeah, I give him a lot of credit. He went out there in front of 15,000, 20,000 people last night in Cleveland and got beat up for a while and sold it. And then stood up at the end and still helped cut the promo after that. So he definitely is probably ready. And then Tessitore kind of leaks, oh, it must be from all that training in the down in the training school, he said. So he kind of tipped off people that he's been working on this for a while. We knew after that WrestleMania moment, 2 years ago, that he was definitely going to it's just, you guys don't need to argue in the chat room, okay?
Oh, we got people going at it.
They're everyone has an opinion. We'll just say that, I think that we can get past. I mean, listen, there's more to come out about Hulk Hogan. Okay. It'll have, we'll hear good and bad. People will write books now that he's gone. I hope Jimmy Hart talks a little bit. Jimmy Hart was like his number one confidant. Trying to get Jimmy Hart to get him on the pain clinic when we were on the radio. It was like, come on, Jimmy, and I don't think, he's like, oh, Hulk knows you guys. He said that, so it's like, okay, I don't need any more. I mean, Rob got him on the pain clinic once. Someplace there's an opening with Hulk Hogan talking. I'm going to find it and run it at the beginning of the show. So he definitely met the artiste, but yeah, you guys don't all have to agree. There was back when, WWE was doing gangbusters and WCW was gangbusters. That's all we did was argue on the show about it. Dr. Love was the big WWE mark, and everybody else fought again, him and Mad Dog and myself, as well as Andrew the Authority would fight him continuously. He always said Bret Hart went down to WCW to bankrupt him. That was his mission from Vince McMahon. It's like we used to argue all the time about stupid things like that. So arguing in the chat room doesn't surprise me in the least. And we take calls too. We would definitely argue about stuff like that. But so now we are set up for next weekend. We have SummerSlam 2 nights coming on next weekend here in MetLife Stadium. And it's interesting because, man, I have not looked at the ticket sales on them yet, but I really have a feeling that you can sell out 2 nights of WrestleMania. Can you sell out 2 nights of SummerSlam? I guess we'll find out next weekend. I don't think we will. Hey, Mad Dog, I did send you an invite if you have time to come on and join us right now, but I'm just throwing that out there, unless I sent it to the wrong email. But I just wanted to let you know that you're more than welcome to come in and give your thoughts. I mean, takes us back to when actually the Hulk Hogan was significant in the world of wrestling when he was still wrestling, yeah, so SummerSlam is next weekend, and they pretty much got the go homes all this week coming up. I did want to talk about Slammiversary. I did not see it. Rob Sanderson did. He told me he was disappointed. There was a few things that went on at it, but now I think that's the biggest disappointment for me is just after seeing the results is that Slammiversary, now you have 2 WWE people with titles. The heavyweight, the men's title and the women's title are both held by WWE wrestlers now.
Was that really a TNA event?
Yeah. Well, I mean, was that fake, that credit at the end of it?
I don't know. Nobody answered me.
Yeah. It's like there was a picture going of Shawn Michaels sitting in the crowd with a baseball hat on, and in front of him, there's the produced by Lee Fitting, Paul Levesque and Shawn Michaels. And now Shawn Michaels has been added to that list on NXT for sure. So, but yeah, this past Slammiversary, well, I heard of the things that really stand out from Slammiversary is that I know that Moose got hurt in the beginning of the match he was in, continued to wrestle the entire match hurt. And so a lot of people were down on that match and they didn't realize he had gotten hurt. He obviously lost the X Division title too. So, but that's really I think the biggest thing that came out of it. They did have live TV this past week. I did watch some of it. Santino Marella was on NXT and on TNA. So he was on 2 different stations, 2 different, he came out for both of them, which was pretty cool because he got quite the crowd cheer at NXT when Santino came out. Because but Slammiversary, I could go real quick through what went on. Trick Williams obviously defeated Joe Hendry and Mike Santana. Everybody wanted Mike Santana. Mike Santana beat Joe Hendry on TV this past week.
Everybody wanted anybody but Trick.
Anybody but Trick. Hardys won the titles for the TNA World Tag titles. And then right after that, I guess Bully Ray came out and said that him and Devon are going to get together and they're going to have a real tables, ladders, and chairs match for their retirement, and it's going to be at the next TNA pay-per-view. And it's like everyone was trying to figure out who wants that.
That's a bad idea.
Yeah, because Bubba may be able to wrestle, but
I was gonna say I didn't think Devon was wasn't having a great time recently.
Yeah, wasn't he on his deathbed not too long ago? I mean, he had a stroke, I believe, so he definitely so we had Leon Slater beating Moose for the X Division title, JC Jane defeating Masha Slamovich, now being the NXT Women's Champ and the Knockouts World Champ, which I would have booed if I'd been there. Indy Hartwell did defeat Tess Blanchard. I'm sure everybody was thrilled about that. And
She's
happy
a
birthday.
racist. Chance persist.
Yeah, there we go. And Tessa, happy birthday. Today is her birthday. Cardona in the system defeated the Dark State, which we were trying to. Rob was like, "Who's the Dark State?" And it's like, the Dark State are those guys with the masks that come out of the crowd on NXT, and it's like, okay, because it's like I don't know if they're ever truly introduced. So they just kind of come out of the crowd with masks on and beat up people, and that's what they've been known for. Mustafa Ali defeated Cedric Alexander. And then they had 3 matches on the pre-show with Real One or Enzo and Zilla Fatu and Josh Bishop defeating Steve Macklin, Jake Something, and Mance Warner with Steph DeLander in the corner. And that was a 6-man tag team match. They put that on the pre-show, and that was the Real One was the one that was cutting the promos and everything, trying to get folks to come out and watch this. So hopefully they made some money. They had a great crowd, by the way. Their biggest crowd in like what they say 20 years, 7,000 plus in what was it called? What was that center? The down in Long Island, where what was it? UBS Arena. That's what it is. The UBS Arena. They had the hometown man defeating Eric Young on the pre-show, and the Elegance brand defeating the Inspiration, which, man, there's not a lot of great results if you like the faces out of that, but that was so. And like Rob's, he seemed underwhelmed by it when we were texting about it. So I don't know. I did not see it, and it's like and Slammiversary is one of their big ones. So I don't know what to say about it, but Slammiversary, the next big one's going to get the Dudleys reunion. See, the Dudleys, I guess what I heard was Bubba wanted to have a final match in WWE with the Dudleys, and WWE did not want to have a final match with the Dudleys in WWE. And so he's kind of like, he was like fishing for it. And so it's like, well, I guess if they can't do it there, I'll do it in TNA. And they wanted to do, obviously, with the Hardys. That's what it was, is they wanted to do the Hardys against the Dudleys as retirement match. And so they're going to get it in TNA. And, I don't know. I don't know where I stand on that. I like Bubba Ray Dudley. I mean, I think he's done better work as a solo when he went to TNA than he's ever did. I mean, that he's done solo obviously before work in WWE, but I think he's done better work as a solo when he got away from WWE and was allowed to go to TNA and be part of create his own faction and actually be a face at times in TNA. And also almost marry Brooke Hogan at one time, if you remember. I mean, you got to think back to all those storylines. But I don't want to see him, and I don't want to see this tag match. But it's going to happen. So let's go and talk about some news. I'll just go general news right now because it's like next week obviously it will be like a big SummerSlam preview amongst other things. I'm sure like I said, Hulk Hogan dying just happened a couple of days ago, and so there's still a lot of more reactions to come out from that. And maybe we'll get his wife has come out and made a statement, and I'm guessing she was there the whole time, so maybe we'll get more of an idea of how bad shape he was in. Besides Bubba the Love Sponge, who. So I'll go through do some news and we'll get out of here. The WWE had planned a late night comedy event for Saturday, August 2nd during SummerSlam weekend, but has reportedly canceled it. The show was scheduled to take place at the Bergen Performance Art Center in New Jersey and was slated to feature comedian Tony Hinchcliffe, who, if you don't know who Tony Hinchcliffe is, he's Kill Tony. He's interesting because I'm almost kind of like the panel, but they're mean. They're mean comedians. They bring on comedians, they give them a minute to make people laugh, and then they just rip on them after that, It's mean enough that Ric Flair said, "This is not my kind of show," and walked off of it, and I don't know. Maybe it's nicer now, but nevertheless, he couldn't draw enough money, so they canceled enough pre-sale tickets, and he was supposed to have Cody Rhodes with him, joining him on the show. I'm surprised at that. They very quietly they canceled it, but they have not like told anybody. They just aren't pushing it on TV because they were pushing it all over the place. It was it
Weird.
would.
WWE doesn't want to talk about things that didn't go so well.
Yeah, I have, like I said, I have a feeling SummerSlam's not going to go so well. So I guess we'll see. I could be wrong. I just saw the split of the matches for the 2 days, and actually, there's some solid stuff going on. I'll be at the Killers though on Saturday, so I'm not going to be seeing that day of the show. I mean, maybe in a replay on Sunday morning. But so some other news: Switchblade Jay White may be on the shelf longer than expected. White's been sidelined for several months following a hand injury he suffered during a match with Kevin Knight. While there's some initial hope for a return in the near future, sources claim this isn't the current case. In fact, it might be the opposite. According to those close to the situation, White has been dealing with a shoulder issue. He's told that the former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion has been contemplating whether to undergo surgery to address the problem. It's unclear if it's a decision that's been made, but if he does opt for surgery, there's a strong chance he'll be out of action for the remainder of 2025. Jay White has not been present at recent AEW tapings, and I like Jay White a lot, and I'm sad that because he was a good thing that was going on in that company for a long time. I enjoyed, and then darn injuries always get in the way. He
Hard subject to change.
Yeah, and he is definitely he's a dude who, like, I mean, worked his way up in IWGP and yeah, definitely, and made his name outside the country. Came to the United States and put on 4-star matches everywhere he was. So,
Yeah, he's one of those guys where if he was healthy, he'd be a champion in AEW right now.
without a doubt, he should be. I mean, he was, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. It's like, I mean, I think that means a lot. I mean, some people don't immediately use that as clout because I mean, there's so many of those ex champs in AEW right now, but we will see. I did mention Moose got hurt early in his TNA X Division Championship defense against Leon Slater at Slammiversary. He did complete the match, but he came out after the match and said he's accomplished. He's taking some time off. He's accomplished everything here at TNA, and he has utmost respect for Leon Slater. And obviously, he's got to get his back healthy. It's not sure exactly what the injury is, but it was said that he reportedly early in the match during a flip dive spot from the apron to the floor, he bounced off the ring apron, suffering an injury to his back. So that's sad. Moose is the guy who could be anywhere he wants. He doesn't need to be in TNA. I think he could be in WWE without a doubt. And I'm sure he's probably, gotten offers from other places. But unfortunately, he's also treated like royalty in TNA. And so that's why I like him a lot. I think he's a great wrestler. And he hopefully he comes back from this injury okay after taking some time off. Speaking of another injured wrestler who we're not going to see for a while, probably ever in the ring again, Bill Goldberg.
Darn.
He didn't leave his retirement match unscathed. The WWE Hall of Famer was speaking on his CarCast podcast about suffering a broken hand during his final in-ring showdown against WWE World Heavyweight champion Gunther last week's or 2 weeks ago, Saturday night main event in Georgia. Now, he had said that, and people were complaining that, about the length of his match. And he said this is the this match that he had with Gunther was like the second longest of his career, which is amazing. I think it was like 15 minutes, maybe 14 minutes.
Yeah. Somewhere around there.
Yeah. Well, it's, he is, he definitely is. I mean, he's done, so we don't have to worry about that. But he broke his hand. But it's like he does make a point by, I mean, obviously he didn't need to do long matches in his career, because one, he wasn't really that great a wrestler, and two, he had his systematic finishes, much like my grief when I was a kid with Hulk Hogan having the leg drop, and then the no sell, then the leg drop. He also does the spear and he also has the spear as well as the jackhammer or whatever they call it. I mean, it's so it's cool as when they were building it up, they did show that how he beat Hulk Hogan for the title in the Georgia Dome, and they doing both those moves. But he is recovering from a broken hand, but he doesn't need to worry about it because he's not wrestling anymore. Will Ospreay is another guy who does need to worry about his issues. He came out this past week on Dynamite, cut a promo saying he's going to be taking some time away. And it was kind of like an impromptu injury update status. And he has two herniated discs in his C2 and his C6 that go into his spinal cord. And he said that there's a chance he could be back by the Forbidden Door 2025 in London. And so that's probably what they're hoping for. I don't know. When is that again? Is that in the end?
August 24th.
Okay. That's a month. So he's hoping he can be good enough to go in a month. Mad Dog's going to join us. Well, we got Mad Dog, Bobby Rogers joining us. I did send an invite to him. Mad Dog, you there, buddy? I know you're muted right now, but oh, there you are, bro. Yeah, just hit your unmute on your microphone. I don't know how you do that. You look like obviously you're on your phone, so. But yeah, I don't know how to unmute. I can't unmute you. You'll be here in a second, folks. So when you unmute and I can hear you, just keep talking and we'll hear you eventually. You can hear us, right?
I can hear you.
There you are. Hey, what's up, brother? I think it's a good day. I think it's a good day to bring you on. Talk. You heard us talking about Hogan, obviously. I'm trying. It's.
So, first of all, let me apologize to your regular listeners and your regular watchers. Everybody's got their own ideas. Everybody's got, there is a generation of professional wrestling fans who are gutted because Hulk Hogan has passed away.
Yeah.
You and I are kind of that first generation where we're too young to have remembered him as a heel and probably didn't have cable, so we couldn't see him in the AWA. I know I didn't have cable at the time when Vern had him up there and promised him a belt and didn't give it to him.
I used to, we had it though. I also remember seeing him wrestle as a heel, at least his last match, which was against Tony Atlas in WWF.
Oh, okay.
I remember Tony Atlas beat him. He picked Hogan up and he nutted him on the ropes after.
I bet he did.
Yeah, and that's how that's last time we saw Hogan until he went to AWA.
I bet he did.
Yeah.
Growing up in, we both went to high school at the same time period, the same area. I remember when Hogan first came back, and my buddy and I have always been huge heel fans. So, although, Backlund was the heavyweight champ and we weren't necessarily big Iron Sheik fans, it was time for Backlund to drop the belt. It is what it is. And he, at that time, you couldn't get any more of a heel than the Iron Sheik. With the Iranian Contra thing and all that happy horse shit. So, but we were huge fans of King Kong Mosca and, the heels at the time. So in comes this cheeseball, and to save the day, and I never saw the the Rocky movie, so I had no clue who he was. And we thought he was silly at the time, but it's what that generation needed. That character is what that generation, our generation, needed as a face. So, I mean, if you're talking about Hogan the character, pro wrestling needed that. Pro wrestling needed a super over face to believe in.
Yeah.
Great, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well,
So-
remember that Vince McMahon was stealing people from every organization in North America, and he was ready.
yeah.
He was ready to. It was the first time that anyone ever was thinking of doing a nationwide a wrestling company, one that worked from East Coast to West Coast instead of territories. And so, and it was his decision to put the on Hulk Hogan as being, you're going to lead this entire thing, you know, and
Certainly.
And it was either sink or swim, you know. I mean, I know that he used to own, I remember Vince McMahon in his story, he used to run an arena in, I can't remember where it was now. It was a arena that had wrestling that came to it. It was like, he ended up like having to like, sell everything to buy WWF from his dad. And then that process, and this process, that's when he started bringing in people from, South and from West and,
Well, and here's the thing. It's very hard for people of especially our generation, to separate the man from the myth. Because that was our childhood memories. And I get that. I do. I can't, it's like finding out Superman was a horrible person.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, I have to give kudos to the character, because that character ushered in what is now, the modern day professional wrestling. Yeah. It brought it to a larger screen. It brought it to an international dais. Nobody, in the 50s, it was a big deal to take your family, it was a date night. You went and saw professional wrestling. If you see all these videos,
yeah, people with ties on.
Yeah. I mean, it was a big deal. Yeah. And territorially, it continued to be a big deal in different places. But whether you like Vince McMahon Jr. or whether you like Hogan, if you're a fan of professional wrestling, you have to give them kudos for the fact that they took something that was 200-300 people coming to a show to putting it on cable and making millions and billions of dollars.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? As a human being, I wish him nothing but the best in hell. Yeah. It is what it is. And it's not just because of the stuff that's happened in the recent years. I mean, he's just wasn't, and it's not just him. There was a group of guys who kept women down, kept people of color down. They just were horrible individuals, and it's the old boys club. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, not to poo-poo anybody's memories at all. I mean, Chris Benoit is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the in-ring stuff, I'll never forget, and I'll never put down. And, the tragedy that happened at the end, what do you say? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's, yeah, I mean, Hogan, I'll give him one credit. He obviously was born again probably about 10 years ago. And, I mean,
yeah, but that seems to be the trend with everybody that gets in trouble. It's like, oh, I did bad things. Now I'm religious.
Yes.
But I have a feeling there's a lot of people he couldn't apologize to because they were no longer around, So, I mean,
and the people that were around, he chose to not apologize to.
Correct. Thank you so much. I mean, Ted DiBiase was one of my favorite wrestlers when he was in the UWF.
Yeah.
And he did some heinous stuff too, and said some horrible stuff, and was a horrible father and a horrible husband. And then he found God and everything was okay. And I'm like, all right.
Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll continue watching wrestling regardless. You know, and I've met the man, and he's very friendly and very nice. And I'm glad that worked out for him in whatever aspect. But it doesn't, you know, like everybody's all, I love Diamond Dallas Page for who he is. I don't know him on a personal level, but he's saved a bunch of people,
Yeah.
probably given them at least 20 extra years of life. And that's awesome. But the people that he's helping were horrible human beings in a lot of ways.
True. True. You know.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean,
I hate to bring down the show, because I love the
No,
show and I love
that's
you guys. And
you know what, I was coming into this trying to not to, you know, I'm just trying to, because there's seeing so much love for Hogan from everybody else in this world, you know.
yeah, but I really think it's because of the generation that you grew up in professional wrestling. He was the ultimate good guy, the character. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's why when he turned, everybody was just like, holy crap, this can't be happening.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's yeah, you know, and like I said, there's more to come out about him. There'll be more. There'll be
well,
definitely.
you know, because of the internet, everybody wants to say their piece, and everybody wants to, oh yeah, well, I met him once and he wouldn't talk to me. And you're like, okay, but I mean, the guy's famous. Everybody wants to talk to him. He's got to have some downtime. I've heard so many horrible things about Bret Hart when he was the heavyweight champ in WWF. And I saw him at a McDonald's and he wouldn't even say hello to me. I can't be alone, you know.
Really.
What are you going to do? I mean, it's the same with anybody in acting or music or whatever. You know, after a while, you get tired of dealing with the people, and unfortunately, you're in that position where you kind of have to deal with people. But I mean, the people, they're unrelenting. They won't let you have a personal life because you're in the public eye. So I can see how some of these guys lose it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And then of course everybody's got a phone, so they took video of this guy losing it. And what an asshole! You know, how can I spend any more money on John Cena? He's being a jerk to me because I won't let him eat a steak. You know what I mean?
I get that, you know, and you know, it's the double-edged swords of popularity, you know. I mean, you know, you get big enough, you're not going to have a moment of peace. That's when you go buy an island and go stay there, you know.
Well, and think about it. If we didn't have phones that were constantly in people's faces and around what's going on, most of the horrible stuff that we know or that's come out or that's alleged about Hulk Hogan, we would never find out. It's the same reason why when we were kids, we didn't know somebody was coming. You know, this bad guy would show up and we'd go, oh, who's this?
Yeah.
And now you can't keep anything secret. You know what I mean?
True that. You know, that definitely is you know, I'm glad that you came on and talked a little bit about it, because I saw you were arguing in the chat room there.
Oh no, and I'm not trying to argue. I just, you know, everybody has their own personal beliefs and their own memories of professional wrestling and ideas of who people are.
Yeah.
And my personal opinion is the man himself, I could care less. The historical value of who the Hulk Hogan character was is undeniable. You know, you can't say he was crap. His wrestling skill set in the WWF was what they gave him. Could he wrestle? I don't know. a lot of people say, well, did you see his matches in Japan? Well, they wouldn't put up with that big boot, drop the leg, and
Yeah.
I win type stuff, because that's not what Japan's about.
No.
So you can't really say, well, he had great matches in Japan. Okay. But all his stuff was here.
And he actually got more injured by doing that freaking leg drop than anything else. That's what causes back problems, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can only land on your butt so many times with all your weight. So
Yeah, yeah. So I have gone back and looked at some of his New Japan stuff, and he actually can wrestle. I mean, at least in some of those matches, you got to have guys the same size as him too, because if you have a little guy, it's kind of hard to make it believable, So it's
yeah.
like,
Well, I think they wouldn't put up with that crap. It wasn't realistic enough. You go to Japan and you got people like Brody and I love Bruiser Brody for who he was, for what the character was, but also a limited, move set. It was a lot of punch, kick, and you go over to Japan and it's like, okay, well, we're not, you got to do more, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of the WWF stuff was so scripted and so like, it got to a point where it's a running gag. You see Ric Flair, you're like, oh, he's gonna kick the leg back and fall on his face. Yep, he did it. I mean, it wouldn't be a Ric Flair match if he didn't.
gonna run up the corner post, get caught, and get body slammed out of it. Yeah.
And we are creatures of habit in the United States. We like to see what we like to see.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't happen, we're like, well, what happened? Is he hurt? I didn't get the right match.
It's interesting that the difference, I think, between Hogan and, say, Flair and their peaks, where Hogan would do a 10-minute match and Flair would do a 30-minute match, and then it still would end the same way. But Flair would do more things in that 30 minutes than Hogan would do in his 10. That's for sure. So yeah, cool, man.
Well, and really, the NWA was definitely longer matches when it mattered. You know what I'm saying? And everybody bled and everybody did stuff, and they gave you time to think about the match to see who you really wanted to win. Where the WWF was pretty. I mean, they had to keep to their times, and it was what it was, and it was much more of a television show than it was a pro wrestling match.
Oh yeah, I mean, even AEW does more wrestling than WWE does, so there's a lot of stuff.
Yes,
they do. If you calculate the amount of time in the ring of action, WWE, you get 10 minutes in an hour. AEW is way more than that. They'll start with matches.
Yeah. As long as I don't have to watch 15 Texas death matches with Moxley in the middle of it. That dude.
Got one more this week coming up, so
we could go on and on about Moxley, and I don't. This is my personal opinion, obviously, because there are people who just adore him. I just think, I don't know. I can't watch it. And it's sad because he does wrestle guys that I'm like, oh, I want to see what this person does. He bugs the living crap out of me.
Well, I think now that he's not champ, that may change things up a little bit for a while. So, but he had a good thing going I mean, there was a thing that we just complained about for the last 8 months where he was the champion, but he never wore the belt and he only carried it out in a briefcase and never displayed it. And they finally, when they lost it 2 weeks ago, it finally was opened up from the briefcase, and it still had the nameplates of the guy that Moxley beat to win it. So yeah, it was interesting. So, but I got to get to the news because I got to get out of here. I got a busy day ahead. So, but man,
that's cool, brother.
Thank you for coming in, man. I appreciate that.
No problem. Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to get back to the news and then get out of here. Sorry, I wanted to have him come on. So I was getting into Osprey when Mad Dog popped in. Osprey. So he has like C2 and C6 issues with his discs. Hopefully they can be solved. He said hopefully by Forbidden Door. Got Colton Gunn, who I mentioned last week on the show, got hurt, and then it was on a tape show. So it's like, yeah. So he mentioned he got hurt during the tape show of Collision last week, and I'm not sure exactly what happened to him, but he is definitely he was booked for some indies. and they haven't totally canceled on yet. So maybe he's going to come in and just cut a promo and not wrestle. But this is, I'm going through all the injured lists. Well, by the way, Orange Cassidy reportedly told some people that he underwent surgery shortly after the last injury he had. So he's going to be out for a while still, Orange Cassidy. If you have Netflix and you're a fan of MJF, Happy Gilmore 2 just came out yesterday. It dropped. And apparently you see MJF's rear end in the, I have not watched it, but I will watch it eventually, but I have not yet. So that, people, kudos to MJF, he's going to be all over Netflix for a while. Local wrestler, from Buffalo, Big Bill Collier made his TNA debut last Thursday night. And it's, they've been keeping an eye on for a while. I'm guessing he's probably wrestling at ESW tonight. But Rob's there. The artiste is there. I'm guessing he would let us know if he was coming on with us, but we'll talk about it next week with him about Big Bill Collier. Another injury that happened on the All in Texas was Thunder Rosa was part of that women's casino gauntlet match and somehow got injured during that. And the interesting thing is what we were talking about is how they had like 3 days of 4 that they had live matches on, including the pay-per-view, and she wrestled on all of them. And so she might have, so whatever happened to her, but she definitely got hurt. And they don't know her timetable for coming back. If you're going to watch AEW Collision tonight, you're going to get Dustin Rhodes versus Lee Moriarty for the TNT Championship. This is live, by the way, so it is live tonight. Athena versus Alex Windsor for the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, and the Eliminator Tournament for a shot at the AEW World Tag Team titles continues. It's live from Chicago. You can check it out at 8 o'clock on TNT. WWE put out a statement. I don't know what this means, but Aaron Andrews and WWE announced a multi-year agreement to introduce a new women's sports collection celebrating WWE premium live events and superstars. The partnership marks a significant expansion for WEAR, 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 as the brand broadens its reach into new sectors across sports and entertainment. At launch ahead of SummerSlam taking place next Saturday and Sunday, the collection will include a variety of wears, fan favorite jackets, t-shirts, sweatshirts, crop tops, and more, celebrating Nikki Bella, Rhea Ripley, Cody Rhodes, as well as staple pieces that celebrate the iconic WWE brand and summer's biggest event, SummerSlam. So it looks like, Aaron Andrews, obviously the sideline reporter for NFL games. So she has a wear clothing line, and WWE's jumping on board with it. Kudos to them. Another thing WWE did this past week is they're now going to be using, according to Fandango, not the wrestler, but the ticket selling place, they're going to be doing Regal Cinemas for live shots of SummerSlam next weekend. Now, I don't know if it's both days or if it's just one. I haven't looked yet, to be honest with you. But kudos. I mean, we haven't seen wrestling by WWE inside a movie theater. I can't remember. I know that other companies have done AEW before, that's for sure. So if you want to watch SummerSlam and you want to see it on a giant 6-foot or 6-story screen, go to Regal Cinemas, maybe one near you, and they're going to do, it looks like they're doing both dates. So you can go watch both dates. Maybe they have like a 2-for-1 price or something. I don't know. Get your big bowl of popcorn and your Slurpee and watch it on the big screen, or you can stay home and watch it on Peacock, which is, well, some folks will be. If you're going to watch SmackDown next week, that's the go home show for the SummerSlam. You're going to get a match between Julia and Zelina Vega for the WWE Women's United States Championship. It's a rematch for Zelina Vega. AAA Tag Team Championship Open Challenge, Los Garza versus, we don't know yet. Damian Priest is taking on Aleister Black. They've been having like this little rivalry they've been building up on TV, and maybe it'll make it over to SummerSlam, but I'm not sure. Maybe it is on SummerSlam. I have both nights. No, I don't see it. There are lots of titles, though, being done. And the Jelly Roll is going to appear, as well as John Cena, next Friday night SummerSlam. So if you're watching that, then you're gonna get that's the go home show. We're gonna go home Raw this Monday. That's all the news I got. DC, is there anything I missed that we should talk about? I mean, we covered a lot. I got to go back and
I don't
edit.
think so. We pretty much got the big news of the week.
I'm gonna have to go back and edit out some bad words.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
There's no bad words.
I gotcha. So, but that's it for this week. I want to thank everybody. Sorry, everybody in the chat room. I know. Listen. Everyone has an opinion, and everyone has a different place in their heart for Hulk Hogan. And it's like, and I can accept the fact that he was instrumental in making the business to be what it is. So he deserves the praise for that. You know, I mean, being, some people say it's only a wrestler. He's more of that. He was like a freaking, I think he had a lot of business acumen in his head about the business and really how things went. I mean, he was first guy to get creative control. So, I mean, I thought that, that's not a good thing to me in the sport, but he got it. He was that popular, instrumental that they okayed that in a contract. So, I mean, he definitely broke, and brought wrestling to main event everything, brought it to the United States to, not just wrestling fans, but to entertainment fans. So I'll give him kudos on that. And that's the last word I'm going to say on it today. And we're going to get out of here. I want to thank you guys for being in the chat room and appreciate even if you guys are arguing about stuff. I'm sorry that, but I do respect your opinion on that. And I believe me, it was a sad day on Thursday for everybody. And I think there's more to come out from other people about it. So just keep your eyes open on the media, and we'll talk to you next week on Body Slam, Somebody You Love.